Now today we're going to go back into the art of semi-automatics and rubber band guns, because whilst it's good to come up with new brick shooters, sometimes it is good to refine the things you've done before. Now we've attempted this gun, or this type of semi-auto gun, many times before, with quite a few failures. This one's a lot more improved. It has a nice smooth pistol grip, which is pretty much standard on my new Lego guns. It has a removable magazine. It has a nice thin trigger guard. It has a long barrel, and it has reasonable sights that you can remove at any time. It has a good rate of fire. It is a non-blowback gun for the purposes of performance. And here we are with our semi-automatic pistol. Loading this gun is a simple job. All you need is to get a rubber band, pinch it around the peg, put it at the end and make sure it's evenly distributed like that. Then you turn the hammer until you hear that click, and then you do it again. Turn hammer. Again. Turn hammer. Now I'd reckon any size rubber band would fit, but I recommend around this size and this thickness, and rubber bands can cost as much as 79p. Go to the local shop to get them, and surprisingly enough they're actually pretty damn good. As soon as you're ready, this is what your gun will look like. Now firing this gun is self-explanatory. All you do is pull the trigger just like on any standard Lego gun. Putting the magazine in is completely optional. It will not affect performance in any way, positive or negative. However, it will add to realism in videos. Just aim to a safe direction and you pull the trigger. Depending on the strength of your rubber bands, it will go a certain distance. Obviously if you have weak rubber bands, they're going to go closer in to you. If you have strong, brilliant, good quality rubber bands, they'll go further away and closer to your target. Now without further ado, it is time for the range test. So here we are with the range test. We're going to be shooting 3 rounds down the range to see just how far it goes. Test 1, test 2, and test 3. Now semi-automatics, you can expect them to have accuracy, you can expect them to have a good capacity. You won't be necessarily expecting too much range from them, however, because these Lego guns, these rubber bands often get caught by the wind and then float down to the ground. However, this one kind of surprised me. Most of my rubber band guns go 3 meters. This one actually managed to hit the 4 meter mark, which is quite good for this type of gun. This is the initial round, around 4.1, 4.2 meters. We have the other 2 rubber bands, and to be honest, I'm actually quite impressed by the range. This shows you that despite it being a semi-automatic rubber band gun, that this gun has a decent amount of power. Now we're about to test the accuracy of this pistol to see how effective it is in defeating the enemy. However, before we do that, we're going to be talking about the logistics of this gun. As I've said before, this is a semi-automatic, non-blowback rubber band gun. It uses a professional type peg mechanism in which you put rubber bands around this peg style magazine, load it all the way to the front and let it fire. For more consistency you can add this extra barrel. It's not a compulsory part, but if you want consistency I certainly would recommend it. This gun isn't really very jazzy, however it does look cool, especially with a very well slanted pistol grip that fits well in your hand, a thin trigger guard that looks kind of professional to a gun, and the tactical rail that will allow you to put on attachments. Also you have these sloped parts to make it look cooler. Now if you want to use it for like props, you can take off this extra barrel and leave just this hole, which makes it look like a realistic barrel. The gun really has that nice weight to it, and it certainly is a regular pistol size. Has a really easy to pull trigger, and each pull and release of the trigger releases a band, because the trigger locks the peg, and then as soon as you release the trigger it allows the peg to turn right round. There's no specific type of round required for this gun, however I would recommend these ones for better shooting. It depends on how many rounds you want for shooting, and it also depends on how accurate and how far you want them to go. Of course, bigger rubber bands mean, of course, less power, because there's less potential energy. However, these are a lot smaller. Just be warned that the smaller ones are more prone to snapping, whereas the larger ones are less prone to do so. The average magazine capacity, as far as I'm concerned, is 4 rounds. However, I've loaded 5 rounds and sometimes 6 rounds without issue. Another cool and completely needless feature on this gun is the fact that it has a sort of look-alike magazine. You just put it in the slot hole on the bottom of the pistol grip and shove it in. It's very nice and it's very stable. It does not affect performance, however it doesn't hinder performance. So now you know a little bit about my pistol, it's now time to put it to the accuracy test. Is this gun accurate, or is it pure and utter shite? Let's find out. We got 3 targets set up, and we got 3 rounds in the gun. Test 1. Hit. Test 2. Hit. Test 3. Hit. All 3 hit. One great thing about rubber band guns is the fact that it's almost always going to be accurate and precise, and today is no exception. It's almost time to test the precision of the gun, but before we do, allow me to talk about my personal opinion. Based on what we did today, this gun does have quite a bit of power, and it is easy to hit the target each time I fire. It looks really, really nice. I mean, it seriously does look nice. Has a good stable trigger guard, a nice light trigger pull. Yes, you do have to go far in to pull the trigger, but on the plus side, it's very light. It's hardly ludicrous, unless you really want to make it ludicrous. The magazine gives it a nice touch, however, unfortunately, it's a bit too small. Again, I modelled it after an airsoft magazine, not a real one. The grip is quite comfortable, works really well to my hand. It's not in any way, shape or form a forced position. Tactical rail probably does work. I haven't tested any attachments. That's because all the attachments are in earlier episodes. This barrel makes a really good reliability with the rubber bands. However, if you want to leave it like that, you can, and make it look really cool. Really super duper cool. The mechanism is, of course, as I've done once or maybe even twice before, super reliable. There aren't really too many complaints, but there are still a few. One, this is only a rubber band gun. Yes, rubber band guns are accurate most of the time. However, I wanted to make something like a brick shooter. Luckily, we've got one coming on the way, and one that is repeating. Two, it's not very different to what we've done before. We've done a semi-auto mechanism before. And the only reason why I even made this is to perfect the semi-automatic handgun. Also, the slide doesn't move, it doesn't make any blowback. Yes, it is by design, but it would have been nice to be able to pull the slide and then fire. Besides that, it's actually quite a good, solid and neat gun. And I certainly enjoyed shooting it. Without further ado, it's now time to test the precision of the gun. Now let's see if the gun is consistent and precise in performance. We've got the target propped up. We're going to test the gun. Test 1. Fail. Test 2. Pass. This is the final test. Pass. 2 out of 3. Despite that one failing with this gun, which I think was a misfire, it did score 2 out of 3 in the precision test. I may not have thought much of it, but because I scored 3 out of 3 in the accuracy test, if you add them together, it's 5 out of 6, which means that I am super confident, despite them not being the same test, that this gun will be reliable or hit the target consistently when you aim down the sight. It's a brilliant gun. If you want to make it, you can. It just feels nice, and it's just quite a nice thing to give some closure to the semi-automatic. I'm quite satisfied that I came up with this, because I can now feel satisfied that I've actually come up with a decent gun that is semi-automatic, rather than the lousy ones that used to be on my channel. Before we finish the episode, I'd just like to show you the 3 final guns in this kind of season of the accurate and powerful Lego guns. First one we're going to be discussing after this is this heavy pistol. It's a single shot pistol. It shoots kind of the same types of ammunition as the hunting rifle. It uses a similar mechanism, however the way you load it, the way you fire it is slightly different. It's more pistol style. We said we were discussing the pistol grip properties and why we came up with them. Also, you may notice that the trigger's way improved. It's really close to the handle. It is in fact remodeled after the semi-automatic pistol, but you can see it's a little bit pee-wee compared to this. But it looks very similar. There is a clear resemblance in it. However, it's a really reliable, really cool piece. The next one that we are going to do is this repeating Lego bolt action handgun. This is a fucking beast here. You can have up to 12 rounds in a clip. It's got a 4-round capacity in the gun, 3-round magazine. What's not to love? We're going to be discussing this prototype and why I like this prototype as it is, and what we're going to do to make it the finalized piece. What improvements are we going to make to this gun? And finally, I want to show you this nice sweet bastard. This is a musket style pistol. This would be a percussion cap style. It has a working hammer that connects to the gear with a rubber band. It's very realistic to the musket. Of course, there are some slight anomalies in there, especially no ramrod and no need to half cock. However, the loading method is still very recognizable. You would half cock the gun like this. You would load in your rubber band into the gear. Fully cock the hammer and you're ready to fire. You'd aim. And done. You'd then reset the hammer, decock it, and then redo the whole process again. The reason why I came up with this is because I wanted to show you guys that even though we're getting more advanced, we're still going to pay attention to the more simplistic creations and perfect them. And the reason why I wanted to come back to this was because I wanted to have a gun that was really super precise with some history behind it that I could discuss to you. I'll be very looking forward to that episode. Now, thank you for watching the video. If you like the video, give it a like. If you want to see more, subscribe. And if you have any complaints or comments about the guns, please put them down in the comments below. Of course, next week, we're going to be talking about this pistol. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep on building.